Hey, what's up, Toronto cyclists? So I'm gonna do another video to try to explain how to use Google Maps to to plan a trip. Plan your commuting cycling trip. So not your fun uh, sporty ones, but your actual commuting ones. So somebody went on Facebook recently to ask, the City of Toronto Cycling Group or something like that. Every once in a while, you get a request for like, can you guys help me pick a route, on one of these on the internet, and so I like to use them to try to demonstrate how much cycling sucks, how much it rules, and how much like the crappiness is kind of accidental, but because of routes and mapping and stuff. So I wanted to take like a case study approach to this video to show like the advanced techniques and stuff for route planning, but also just to show how long it takes to figure out a route in a situation where like you have to evaluate every segment of every road that's part of it because the cyclability of each road in the GTA is just so not guaranteed or whatever. So it's like the process sucks so much, and I kind of want to demonstrate that just as like a advocacy thing because we gotta just make it so that you don't have to do this. And so if the city doesn't want to make all the roads just easy to bike on, which I know they don't, but if they really don't want to do that, then they have the arduous task of making a cycling map that's actually useful for route planning. And then they have the task of like making sure that all the routes that are on that map are actually easy to bike. And that would be easier than making all the roads all good. It's just picking like just being like, okay, we're just gonna christen all these roads as our minimum grid, and then mark all the trouble spots and then fix all the trouble spots before we put out the next version of the map or something, because like the cycling map is pretty useless, especially for trying to figure out some trip like this. It's not really going to give you the best route. So I start with looking up the directions just like this in Google Maps, and it'll give you different options, and you can evaluate the options, and then I'll try to see like what the like this is the area that I don't really uh, know about. Oh, my cursor is not showing up. Wow, there we go. So this is the area that I don't really know about. And so just to figure out like the shape of the road network here, I like to drag the route around, and that's like it'll show you the different kind of options it'll give you. And you just do this by like clicking and holding on any place along the route, and it will put down this point that you can drag around, and then to remove it you just click it again. So I'm like, okay, so why is it choosing this spot to cross here? What are my options for, it seems like this is a spot where I gotta really choose my crossing, because there's this rail line here. So I've got like this is gonna set my options, like where do I want to cross this rail line, and then where do I want to cross the highway, and then where do I want to cross the Humber, where do I want to cross through this area up here. Those are like all my kind of considerations. So I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to end up preferring something over here to cross through this area, then it might be worth, where did I put down a point there. It might be worth coming up through like a net or something to avoid this crazy hilly area and to avoid the crazy windiness of the waterfront. So I gotta figure out a route for those days when I'm not up for climbing or when I'm not up for crazy wind. So I'm like, okay, I know this area of town. I'm like, okay. Either I'm doing the waterfront and then coming in at Mimico or something, or I want to plan a northern route for myself here. So I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to go with what I know. in terms of maybe there's a good route across here. Maybe. This is a long trip to plan. So I'm gonna speculate. I'm gonna think, well, this might be the best route. So I already know that, let's see, not Jane, but not Gooch, not Varsity. I guess it is that. Oh yeah, okay, St. John's and St. Mark's. Yeah, I already know that this is sort of my preferred route through this area. Not so much. That's fine. I know a billion ways to get through here on any given day. So I'm like, okay, I'll plan a northern version of the route and see if it's just terrible. I guess I put down a waypoint somewhere around here. I can't find it. There it is. But now it's creating stuff for me. Okay. Oops. There we go. Okay, so it's stuff that you can't see, but now hopefully you can. So, okay, I'm bad at this. But I'm better at it than all the other people who are doing it because there are no other people doing this. So like you can end up with these weird, it's like now it's malfunctioning on me. It's dragging when I want it to create points. So when it gets all messed up like this, sorry to say, you end up like having to click back onto the route and like reset it. You can do it by switching the directions. So now my route is like gone. I'm So this can go wrong, but it's the most useful tool. And like I say, the bike map is going to lead you astray. It's going to do bad things for you. I need to make a route that doesn't include the Humber Trail and stuff. I'll make one that does, but I need to make one that doesn't. So my major thing is I gotta figure out how to cross the highway. And for this, I am gonna bring up the bicycling directions. And this isn't like based on the bike map. This is based on the infrastructure that's there. And then also anybody can, like if you discover the best way to cross some spot, like now I'm looking at this, maybe somebody added this as a good cyclist-friendly crossing. Because with Google Maps, you can just add stuff. You can just add some spot that you think is good for cycling through, and it could get noted as such. And somebody has apparently done that with this spot. And I'm not making a terribly good case for being able to edit it because this kind of shows like it's been marked as cyclist friendly, and you know clearly it's not. But of course I haven't seen the other crossings. So this is where it's time to, you know, it's like examining a war zone or something. Like, well, okay, I'll just break out the satellite imagery to try and figure out my cycling route across here. Ridiculous. But that's what we have to do because, you know, we're not supposed to be cycling across here. That's part of the like conspiracy of highways against the public. It's to enforce driving. Even if it's not terribly useful to drivers, a highway forms a useful barrier that excludes cyclists and pedestrians and encourages people to drive. I've always got to make those advocacy activism notes with this type of stuff because it is part of it. So now we're at the beginning of the long process of evaluating all the various terrible crossings of this horrible piece of highway infrastructure, which, to put in a highway like this, anybody should be required to provide for cyclists and pedestrians, comfortably crossing it, but they don't. But not all the crossings are built equal. They're not all equally terrible. This is something I really wouldn't mind cycling through. So I'm just gonna provisionally just see what happens when I drag my route through this spot. So I think Where is my route even? Uh, Now it's made my route disappear. I'm gonna remember this street name. That's what I'm gonna do. Use my memory. Okay, North Queen Street. So now I'm clicking back on the route to, okay, that's totally it's so far south of what I thought. So to make a northern and southern version of my route, since I've discovered a good southern crossing or middle crossing of this road, I put myself a point on the western edge of it, and now I'm dragging back the destination to my point of origin. This is how I figure out how to make routes going in two directions, because sometimes you need it to be slightly different for like going one way versus the other way, because there's one-way roads and there's just all these things that it's like, well, going home, I actually prefer to use this other route. So. Or I've got to figure out, if there's one-way streets that are going to sabotage my idea or something for this route. So this is what I do, is I basically end up making a circle, and then hoping that I don't have to put too many of these customization points in so that it runs out, because there is like a limit to how many you can place. So sometimes you have to do like a big version of the route and then go into detail with other segments, but like figuring out you figure out which spots are your big barriers, and then which crossings you want to use of those big barriers, and then you figure out how to get between those crossing spots. So like getting between, figuring out where I want to cross here and where I want to cross here, then I can figure out how I want to get from there to those crossing spots that I want to use. And then I can figure out how to get from my, my choice of crossing spot here to my choice for the highway here. And then from there to, like, that's probably the last and then from there to this highway here, where I want to cross that. That's like probably some limited options, but I bet that this crossing is not so bad. Let's see. You can just sort of go through different spots along the route randomly and just like see what your options are. This I would bike, because I'll just go there, or when it's not super busy, I'll just go there, and I would totally bike that. That's no problem. So I'm gonna be like, okay, at least that's doable. I can cross through here, and then I just have to make it to there from down, let's say down here on North Queen. Or let's see what a reasonable crossing spot along here might be. If there's any better options for, that's right. There's the kick-ass Eglinton path. It's like if I wanted to do like an easier northern version, it might be worth it to go all the way north to Eglinton. So I'll just investigate that here, because this path along Eglinton is not, although it's pretty damn windy. But up here it's kind of the best way to get through this. So I'll make a version of it for those days when I'm not willing to use this stuff. Okay, so to like get this crazy video gamey perspective view, I'm just holding down Control on my keyboard and then dragging the map around like this. Drag it in different directions and whatever. And then of course you can also like zoom in to get closer and zoom out. So with a combination of zooming and then trying to angle it, you can get these cool perspectives that can sort of help you. And then also you can turn labels on or off. So if the labels are getting in your way of like seeing the roads, you can turn them off, and then you can actually just get this photographic view of like, okay. And then you can spin it. And then it shows you like, okay, that is north. So north is like going up that way. So I can get oriented. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to keep labels off and just look for, that's not where I want to be. This is, I think, where the bike path goes across. Maybe not. Let's see. Labels back on. Yes, that's the what is this freaking path even? Anyway, what is this? Is this some path that's not a... Oh yeah, this is the terrible path that is totally still a bike path, which I will totally use. Because it's fine, it's great. Okay. So I've got that. I'm trying to find something to the south of there, between these two spots that I've found, because it's kind of like too far north. If I can find another spot that I can get to via side streets, I'd prefer that to this official, you know, bike route. It's great, but it's gonna always be windy. So okay, let's find a side street route to link up to like some crossing that's not terrible, because those side streets will be less windy, and unlike any formal bike infrastructure, any bike lanes and stuff, they'll actually be, I can use them in the winter. So that's the other reason I've got to find like a snow day route for it. So it's nice to find one route that works like for snow days and everything, but that's not really typically possible. So you don't just need one route, you need like 5, because you're a cyclist and you're so special. So all of these are pretty much equally crappy, but like, as you can see by this, lots of cyclists bike through here. So I'm going to take that as an indication that I should totally bike through on this sidewalk at about 20 kilometers per hour if there's nobody there, and at walking speed if there is. I'm getting my morning call from the CRA scammers, or whoever they are. That's that beeping in the background. I'm gonna say I'm willing to take this spot. Now let's see where this spot is in relation to the other. It's just such a mess. Like, this is gonna be our future housing and future normal intersections when we finally just get sick of like expressways wrecking our lives. Like, they're wrecking our lives. I hate these spots. Let's see if it's, because it's not that far. Oh, I might as well just use this road. Okay, so North Queen is where all the spots between North Queen and Eglinton are so garbage. So, cyclists going between here and here are really impeded by all of this. And these two spots here are the only places where it's legal to do it in an almost safe way. And I mean, you know, on North Queen, it's still like, it's almost safe for people like me because I'm super fast and I'm very elite. And I can jump onto the sidewalk really quickly if I need to. That's not normal cyclists at all. I'm a crazy elite cyclist. Like, been doing this for a decade with no, you know, collisions or injuries or whatever in traffic all year, and I've figured out how to do this. So that's great. All the people who are trying it for the first time are just never going to try it again after trying to go through something like that. Or especially if they're like, oh, Google Maps says it's a good cycling route, and then they're like, yeah, okay, that's my critical cycling infrastructure between these two neighborhoods. But oh no, cycling is just so unpopular because it involves exercise and it's a cultural thing. Yeah, okay. That's real cultural there, real cultural. So so let's say I just want to see what the I know that basically this part is garbage, but you know, pretty much all my, like, if I want to get to a better crossing, I have to go through worse spots. Like, this is so hilly. It's insane. This is the only real spot where it's flat, but then to go from here to here, okay, obviously I will go from there to there, but I'll do it on St. John's because it's way faster. So I'll end up going along there on St. John's and whatever, but I'm not going through here because that's more extra unnecessary hills that you would end up doing if you're following the bike map, because you're gonna be like, oh well, I'll just go across with this thing and then through High Park with all the cycling infrastructure there, and then through Swansea, and then or I'll go down to this bot, or I'll go along here and then take the Humber Trail up here and then go over to, and it's like that's so much extra climbing. You're never gonna do that for a like daily commute or something like that. Although I think there is a way to figure out a almost flat ravine route, because check out all these ravines. So it's like the other approach would be do this across there, do this ravine thing, which is like, okay, down into the ravine, back up onto the road, that's more climbing, back down, back up, that's more climbing, and then so like, no, I'm not going to do that. So this is already hilly enough, like as you can see. So the Google Maps thing, they give you this useful elevation guide, and that's how you can figure out where your hills are that you might want to avoid. But if I was doing it with the bike map, I would just never do this route a second time, because I'd be like, oh, well, all these other roads must be totally impossible. And the roads on the bike map are totally hilly. So yeah, Toronto's not a good place for cycling, and this is not a good cycling route, where like it is a pretty good bike ride actually out here. So and as you can see, it's like an hour and 20 minutes in each direction, which during rush hour is not even that terrible for this, like especially compared to the subway. Like I myself, I had a job in, where the heck was it? It was in, it was out like Kipling, and it was out here somewhere. It was like in this area. And, or no, it was in, yeah, no, I'm totally wrong. It was in this area. So, obviously, you know, yeah, okay. Or at first it was up here, and then yeah, the next location was there. But I was living downtown, and I was taking the TTC, of course. I was taking the subway. And it's basically, you know, I'd bike up to Bloor from Dundas or whatever, get on the subway, and then get off on I think it was the Kipling bus, or at Kipling, and then we take a bus, maybe, you know, 10-15 minute bus ride to basically in front of our workplace, and the whole thing was like, I don't know, it was reasonable at like an hour or something. And then when they moved down to sort of this area, I was still taking the TTC. It was still taking about the same amount of time. And I tried biking it one day. It was like 45 minutes. It was like 15 minutes faster than taking the damn subway and the bus. And that completely blew me away. I was like, why is this faster? How? Like, I'm going slow. Like, oh my God, it's the first time I've tried this, and I'm like taking breaks and stuff. And I'm getting here early? This makes no sense, but that's how it works. So we talk about like short trips being good on a bike, but when I do long trips on it, it ends up being faster than the TTC anyway, which blows me away. Like, not if it's just right next to the subway line, but as soon as there's a bus involved, the distance doesn't seem to matter. So I don't know, even this trip might be pretty economical on a bike. So you can see round trip, it's quoting like almost 3 hours for this. And the Google Maps estimates are pretty accurate. Like when I'm going slow, they're pretty accurate. So anyway, all right, I'm just gonna check it. Now I'm gonna do sort of my sweep from the sky. There's like a quick sweep, and then I'll check street view stuff, right? Just to see, like, is my route terrible in any places? And if I find terrible spots, I'll try to find ways around. So I got a crossover here somewhere. It's like, maybe this is better. Maybe? Oh, this is way better. So you can switch to street view just by zooming in more. So I'm like, okay, maybe I'll take that. That's all good. Matheson is like. Double left turn lanes, and of course, like, it's a quarter full. It's not even 1/3 full. Let's see if I can get a rush hour street view image here. This looks like kind of evening rush during the summer, and like, yeah, not much of a rush. So the other thing is these arterial roads where there's not even that much drivers, it's pretty easy for, at least for me, to bike on them. Just because I shoulder check and I merge and unmerge, and that works. But it looks like there's, let's see, I could jog to the north, right? Or I could jog to the south. So let's see if I take this instead of, and I'll just make that pin disappear by clicking on it. Okay. This I like. This is starting to actually look pretty dope. I wonder if there's there's no path there. Okay. So let's say I'm taking this. Like these industrial roads, people would never think to bike on them, but they're great for cycling. Let's see here. The industrial side roads, because they're like a lot of intersections without lights and without much regulation and without much traffic. And then you cross over these sort of underused 5-lane roads with surprising ease. It's just like, at first it's so nerve-wracking the first few times, and then you're kind of like, oh, there's no actual danger. Maybe I have to wait a little bit for traffic to clear if there's crazy traffic. Oh, look at this. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. 45 kph I could do on this spot if I really wanted to. Not there, obviously. So when you encounter pedestrians in these places, you pass them at pedestrian speed. You slow down, like by the time you get to here, you need to be doing like a jogging speed. By the time you get to like here, you need to be doing a walking speed. And in a spot where you're going to clear her by like at least half a meter at walking speed, or more like a meter, you should be slowing down by there. Like, it's really, you've got to really treat the pedestrians in these spots the way you want the drivers to treat you when you're stuck with them on a 1 lane in each direction road. Okay, this spot can be uphill, easy to yield to pedestrians on the sidewalks, easy to deke onto the curb lane here when there's nobody behind me. So I'm going to say like Eglinton is probably going to be a go, like all the way east. Except no, it's not. It sucks over here. Yeah, I'm going to try and figure out an alternative to Eglinton. So, okay. Oh, an alternative, it's like, oh yeah, okay. I can just go through here. So I could cross over there, or I could cross over here. Oh, and Etobicoke Creek does have cycling facilities. Is that some single track joy that I see up in here? I'm gonna see, so I'm gonna see if I can get some imagery here. I think if I collapse that, no. It won't bring up the imagery thing unless I... Oh, what the fuck? Okay. Wow, somebody went through here with Street View. Oh, look at the... Oh, look at the... Oh. Mm-hmm. So this is one route that I'm like, okay, I should consider adding this to my route. Seems like there's like 5 different ways to skin this cat. I can rock Eglinton all the way over to, because Eglinton, so on, let's say on non-windy days, this is my route across here. Or on days where I don't want to be on snow days and crap like that, I'm going through that, yeah. And then maybe on non-snow, on when I want to be in a ravine or something. I gotta figure, oh, I'm gonna make a cross path that goes down to there. That's what I'm gonna do. See how long this takes? It's just frickin', it takes forever to figure this crap out. It's like half an hour just to get an idea of some bad routes. Some bad routes. Um, so let's say I could come down through there and then through there. And I could actually go through there. Let's see if I can merge these two. Oh, look at that. I can. I bet I can find like a really cushy, easy, non-busy crossing for this. Oh, look at this. This is not so bad. It's busy as hell. Look how busy that is. See, this is an actual busy spot. But it's busy in a way that I can totally deal with. So I'm going to say, like, I don't mind crossing Dundas in that spot. And that, let's see. I already know that, oh, maybe Burnham Thorpe Road is the right place. No, it's crappy. Everything's crappy. What did I decide for this spot? I don't imagine Bloor has any cycling stuff on it. Doesn't look like it. Where did I decide I was going to cross? On Eglinton, right. I realized there is nothing between Eglinton and... Where was that? Queen something? Okay, I guess it's south of Bloor? And south of Dundas? Yes, okay. So, okay, I'm just gonna take a break. This is too stupid, but you get the idea. It's it's like a half hour just to get an idea of how annoying it is.